So I'm sure you've heard all the critique against AG1 lately. The internet is literally flooding with videos and articles that are all trying to get people to pay attention and see through the hype. But no one is talking about the biggest problem with AG1, which I'll explain in this video, along with several other issues that I see. So who am I? I previously built and sold a lifestyle medicine platform, and along that journey, I got to know some of the leading minds in functional medicine and sort of health overall. And for the past 6 months, I have helped grow a supplement brand in Europe, and I've deeply studied nutrition for the past like 10 years. So that's my background. And what I'm about to get into is actually not just about AG1. There's a bunch of other brands that have sort of jumped on the bandwagon and basically copied AG1. And while some of these are definitely like a slight improvement to AG1 as a product, the issues I'm about to dive into broadly apply to all of them. If you don't know what AG1 is, it's this like daily greens drink that absolutely exploded onto primarily the US market in early 2022 after they raised $115 million that they just plowed into marketing. They have been around for much longer though. I first heard about them in 2015, I believe. They started in 2012 or something like that. I heard about them when listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast, so shout out to Tim. And back then it was still called just Athletic Greens. And I actually always loved the idea behind this product. I think it's awesome. Like I'm someone who would do basically anything for my health. And so having an all-in-one product like this, something that's almost like a nutritional insurance, you might say, is an awesome idea for sure. But the more I went down the rabbit hole of nutrition over this past almost decade now, the more I absolutely hated the product itself, unfortunately. And I was actually so frustrated with this situation that I decided to create my own product. So about a year ago, I started working on my own product that's an alternative to AG1. It's just got a lot better ingredients, and more importantly, it's based on a fundamentally different dietary philosophy. Um, and let's be honest, I'm doing this video as part of my marketing. I'm hoping to get more people to sort of start thinking about the issues with products like AG1 and hopefully get curious about what I'm creating. But even if you're not interested at all, this video will still be valuable to you because it will help you think critically about all these products in the supplement space. So at this point, you're probably wondering what's actually wrong with AG1. And we're about to get into it. But before we start, I feel like I have to share something that I just recently discovered myself. And it's about the founder of AG1. Apparently, he used to run a straight up fraudulent company in the real estate industry back in his home country, New Zealand, where they basically tricked people into thinking that they were making gradual payments so that they could eventually own their home. And then they basically just stole that money from those people. And he was actually convicted. So he's a convicted felon, which is the reason why he went to the US, because he didn't want to stay in New Zealand as a convicted felon. I mean, there's this journalist on YouTube.
This is Chris Ashenden, a convicted criminal and the founder of the billion-dollar supplement company AG1. AG1 hired the most powerful defamation.
I just heard it there. He seemed pretty legit. I looked into the journalist a little bit, but I haven't like dug into this more than that. I'm not that interested, to be honest. And obviously, this is not an actual argument against the product itself, but I just felt like I kind of had to share that because it's kind of crazy. And yeah, take it as you will. Okay, now let's get into it. Okay, so this is the first and most important point that no one is talking about. It's going to piss a lot of people off, I think, and I'm okay with that. But hopefully it will motivate at least a few smart and curious people to start doing their own digging and really start questioning what they have been told about nutrition for many reasons that I don't have nearly enough time to sort of get into in this video. The average person in the world today has been convinced that when it comes to diet and nutrition, more plants equals more healthy. And this is obviously the fundamental philosophy that AG1 is built on. You know, it's got all these greens in it. It's the branding is green. Everything is built around this idea that you need to get more plants into your diet. And I'm here to tell you that that's straight up wrong. The truth is that if you are genuinely curious and sort of intellectually honest, and you study nutrition for long enough, which I have, you inevitably end up at the same conclusion like everyone else that did the same thing uh, have. And that conclusion is that humans are omnivores with a strong bias towards animal based foods. And so, as an evolutionary consequence of this, as we have sort of evolved with this on this trajectory, the result is that the most important nutrients for human health and thriving are all found in the highest concentration and the highest bioavailability in animal foods like meat, organ meats, milk, cheese, etc. Now, this doesn't mean that plant foods are all worthless or that all of them are toxic, like some people in the carnivore camp would claim. If you prepare plants correctly, they can be a wonderful source of nutrition. But it does mean that if you are looking for optimal nutrition, which I think the people who buy something like AG1 are, animal foods and specifically organ meats should be of the highest priority. And so if you're going to buy a product that serves the purpose of AG1, it should reflect this truth. So that's point number one. If you've never heard of these plant chemicals or like plant defense chemicals, it's very simple. Plants all have and need some way to defend themselves so that they don't end up as food. They also want to survive, believe it or not. Some plants have physical defenses, you know, like thorns, for instance. But most of them have some sort of chemical defense mechanism. Uh, and often it's actually triggered when an animal bites into their tissue, like bites into the leaves, which is kind of interesting. I think that is one very strong sort of evidence that this is what's actually going on, that there is some sort of defense mechanism going on. As humans, we have adapted in many ways to being able to digest plant foods. Obviously, this is why we are omnivores. Um, and most people are kind of okay with digesting most plants, or a lot of plants at least, especially if you are healthy. And if you look in nature, there's like other examples. Koalas are a good one. They eat eucalyptus leaves almost exclusively, and eucalyptus leaves are very toxic. And so they have to sleep for like 18 to 22 hours every single day just to be able to digest and sort of extract the nutrients and process the toxins in eucalyptus leaves. So there are a bunch of different examples of animals that have adapted to eating plants and sort of, you know, this war between plants and animals. And for us humans, we have also evolved a bunch of cultural techniques and sort of traditions that are based on neutralizing toxins in plant derived foods and sort of extracting the most nutrients out of them. Two examples of that is sourdough fermentation for stuff like wheat, and something called nixtamalization, which you do with corn when you make tortillas and stuff like that. Uh, it's all about making these foods digestible to us, and you actually need to make these preparations a lot of the time for these foods to have very little risk to harm us in any way. And so when you look at something like AG1 or these other sort of plant powders, um, they are very high in many of these chemicals that can be a problem for a lot of people. For example, several of the top ingredients in AG1, like beetroot powder and spinach leaves and stuff like that, they are all very high in so-called oxalates. And 80% of kidney stones that occur are made of calcium oxalate, which occur when you either eat too much oxalates in your diet or you get too little calcium, or both. And so since these products are, a daily thing, you eat them every day, um, chemicals like this can easily build up and cause a bunch of problems. So that's another issue that I see with this product. So now we're getting into sort of the more generic points that everyone is talking about, but they're still very valid though. So I'll run through them as well. I'm pretty sure that Athletic Greens probably started out as a clean whole food blend, and then gradually over the years, as they have become this like heavily science-based brand, they have sort of gradually incorporated these synthetic sort of isolated nutrients and just like very pretty artificial ingredients. If you look, for example, at the second ingredient here, which means that it's included in the second largest amount in the blend, it's soy-derived lecithin, which honestly I would not want anywhere near my digestion, and I would not wish that for anyone else either. Um, and then another issue is that there's very few organic ingredients here. In fact, if you look at it in detail, you'll see that it's literally only the ingredients that you read first that are organic. I wonder why they did that. Anyway, when the price point is around or over $100 when you include shipping, I feel like they should almost all be organic. And lastly, AG1 brags about the fact that they have 75 ingredients in their blend. The problem is that the whole serving is just 12 grams, which means that there can't be enough of each and every ingredient to actually make a difference for your health. So Brian Johnson, who also made a similar video to this, he called this pixie dusting, which I quite liked.
You don't know how much of each ingredient is in the product. In fact, of the ingredients the AG1 has, 49 do not have a disclosed dose.
And the irony is that AG1 claims that they are so science driven, but the thing is that like a lot of the benefits that they talk about are not really proven at those low amounts that are included in the blend. So it's a problem. So going back to the price point, I actually don't have a problem with it at all. In fact, my product will be slightly more expensive than AG1. What I do have a huge problem with, and it's actually like one of my biggest pet peeves, is overpricing. And there are exceptions to this, but I think price is and should be a signal to the market about who this product is for, like what type of consumer and what the quality is like. So the quality and value that you're getting for the amount that you pay should be equivalent to the price. Because not everyone wants the very, very best, and not everyone can afford the very, very best. So and sometimes you just want something cheap. So there needs to be this reflection of value and quality to price. And as long as that's true, you can price however much you want. Like there's a reason that a Bugatti is a very expensive car. It's one of the most high quality handmade vehicles in the world. And it would be kind of ridiculous if you complained about the price just because you can't afford it or whatever. It's not that's not relevant. It's about what are you paying for. That's the thing about pricing. And so for my product, I chose to not make any compromises because I'm literally making the product that I want to take myself every single day. And because very high quality ingredients are expensive, I have to price at a certain high price point in order to make this whole thing financially viable. Going back to AG1, over this past like 10 plus months that I've been, sourcing materials, looking into manufacturing, learning about packaging and shipping and all of this stuff, I can very confidently tell you that AG1 is paying less than $20 to make the whole product and get it shipped to you. This means that they have more than 80% gross profit margin on this product, and much more than that if you subscribe for several months. And obviously, this is the big reason why they have been able to grow so quickly and become so big, is that like I mean, again, you've probably heard them on every podcast you listen to, and like all brands do this to an extent. But when you have such a high profit margin, you can just pay more than everyone else. And this is kind of what has been going on for the last at least 3-4 years, I guess. So the big influencers like, you know, Andrew Huberman or Tim Ferriss, who have both recommended this product and are advocates of AG1, they are literally making millions of dollars per year just off of commissions from AG1. So, I mean, I think everyone likes to believe that they have strong principles. And even if you do have strong principles, it's very, very, very easy to rationalize that this product is good or whatever to make that kind of money. Like it's just the way that humans work. And so that's a problem. And then the last point is kind of, it's more personal. The first one is taste. Some people obviously like the taste of AG1. Personally, I absolutely hate it. It's a very, very artificial tasting. And if you look at their ingredients list here again, they have something called natural flavors. I believe it's vanilla and pineapple. But like natural flavors, that's just a group of chemicals called esters, usually, that you make from alcohol. So there's really nothing natural about it. I wouldn't say that it's particularly sort of harmful or anything, but it's very artificial. That's what I'm saying. And personally, I do not like that taste. And lastly, the bottle. The bottle that they include with every purchase is made of plastic. Why? Like why? I mean, it's not good for your health. Like it's actually very bad for your health to drink out of a plastic bottle, and it's obviously not good for the world either. Um, I just think it's such a shame. Like I understand why they're doing it. Obviously, it's cheaper so that they can have more margin. And it also, one other point is that it doesn't break as easily. So like if you go to a workout or something with the bottle, that might be a benefit. But like overall, glass bottles are actually not that expensive. I know because I'm sending a glass bottle with my product, and it's honestly not that big of a problem. You can actually drop them, many of these types of glass bottles, without them breaking most of the time. So it's like it's just better for everyone involved, and they could easily do it, but they don't for some reason. So I just think that's a shame. Um, yeah, I don't really have a good ending for this video. I created a product that's basically the opposite of everything I listed here. But it's even more than that. It's a way to get all of the superfoods and sort of nutritional elements that are either very rare or hard to get a hold of, or just more or less completely missing from the modern environment. And I put those all in one blend. And crucially, I did not add any bullshit, which, you know, honestly, a lot of these other brands have, and they're trying to sort of hide that from people. And so if you're interested in that product, you'll find a link in the description. And otherwise, I hope this was helpful. Like, if you have any questions or sort of disagree with anything that I said, please hit me up in the comments, and we can have a good old internet squabble. If you're interested in sort of following my journey with this, building this brand, you can subscribe and look at my other videos. I'm sort of documenting everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.